the human element is a massive contributing factor that just online calculators can't get. And the reason we say that is what can look wonderful on paper, you mapped it all out, and life throws you a curveball. All right, so today we are asked, I should say, to talk about online financial calculators. There are thousands of different versions of online calculators, a lot of retirement stuff, healthcare stuff, investment returns, debt, mortgage, different types of calculators. So the question that was asked of us, Scott, is why do they work? Are they really applicable to everyday clients that we work with or folks that are doing it on their own? Can they rely on those? It's kind of a big, broad topic there.
It is a big, broad topic, but so first of all, I think that you hit on the great point that there's a lot of different types of calculators. And the first thing that comes to mind is that the person has to know which calculator they need and how many of those calculators. So there could be a calculator for refinancing your home. There could be a separate calculator for whether you should lease or buy a vehicle, a separate calculator for whether or not you have enough money for retirement. And so I think a lot of people don't even know necessarily which calculators they should be using. Should they be using them in concert with each other? Right. How do they form a mosaic of their entire financial life?
Right. So coming from the builder background, Bob the builder, right? It's a tool. But I mean, just having a circular saw doesn't mean you're ready to go build a house.
Yeah.
Usually you need a bunch of tools, but there are a bunch of calculators out there. So in theory, one could get a calculator and go to every site that they need to and extract the data. But you're saying they still need a plan to put it together.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have disparate pieces there. In that case, you're not going to have necessarily a clear understanding of the entire picture. And you might not understand how each piece fits in. For example, one calculator on whether or not you should refinance your home or not might be dependent in part on your plans for retirement.
Right.
And so you might need to go through the retirement planning tool first to find out whether or not you should be refinancing your home or paying it off early.
Okay. How about this? How about the one thing that we talked about before camera started rolling was the whole human element.
Yeah.
Right. So, we know this. We've been doing this for I'm 20 decades. Let's just say that. Let's not give our age out here. At least I care about that. You're still younger than me, but
a little bit.
The human element is a massive contributing factor that just online calculators can't get. And the reason we say that is what can look wonderful on paper, you mapped it all out, and life throws you a curveball. Sometimes those curveballs are unavoidable. Sometimes they're just a side effect of bad habits.
Right.
We saw this. Remember, we had a really wonderful year as far as returns, and we were saying, oh, what a great time for us because our clients are all starting the next year with a nice bigger base. Yeah. And then we had a whole bunch of clients go, wow, it was such a great year. I'm going to take money out and go spend it.
Right.
And so we were happy to build a cushion into what we already had was a strong plan. They just took that cushion away and went and used it. So in some cases, that's probably not a big deal because people have enough, what do you want to say, a fallback. They have enough to work off of. But some people, a good year, they really needed that year to build that cushion back in because their expenses were too high already. So that human element, I mean, you see it all the time.
Yeah. The computers are well known for their accuracy, but they lack that human element, that variability, that psychology of why you're using this tool. And so they can be a little too accurate in some cases because they don't give you that variety of different outcomes. You might plan on something like my income for the year, but you don't really include the fact that your income might be variable for some reason. A great example, many of our clients have natural gas royalties. And so they'll look at their first 6 months of checks and assume the next 6 months are going to be somewhere around that. But natural gas royalties fluctuate dramatically.
That's a good point.
Different income streams start and end at different points. And so you might do a financial plan for your income as you see it today, not considering that at age 63, you might start drawing Social Security or do you want to delay that Social Security until age 70? And so there's a lot of different options and And it's going to depend on the facts and circumstances of your life at that time.
Yep.
So like you pointed out, you could put together the perfect plan today, and then, your wife comes home and says she's pregnant, and suddenly you're like, oh, well, that plan goes right out the window because now we have to plan for another child. And so it can be very variable from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year in your plan. And you want to keep the context of the fact that life is a growing, moving, changing thing, and you don't want to necessarily lock yourself into a very specific outcome.
Yeah. And the coordination of that is I think what you said at the beginning, coordinating these things can be so important because I think each independent calculator, without vetting every single calculator that's on the internet, right?
Yeah.
is probably very accurate in its vacuum.
Sure.
Right. But when you just talked about Social Security, the same with Medicare, right? So there's the IRMA, sort of penalty or extra premium that somebody would have to pay when they go to sign up for Medicare if they made too much money in the year or two leading up to that age 65. Most retirement calculators would never flag that or bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
The same with, we do a lot of calculations on folks on their tax return. Basically, if you want us to look at your tax return, we can help to make sure that, you're taking out of the right, and that's why we're retirement income planners, right? To make sure you're taking out of the right source at the right amounts at the right years. And if you go over on a certain bucket, it might actually penalize you more. So I don't know of any calculators out there. I think that's really where the value that advisors really come in to understand the client.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a pro advisor. We're kind of like that here.
Yeah.
But I think there's a great reason for that. And I think you're uncovering that.
Yeah, I think the calculators are good at the quantitative stuff. When you have the numbers, you put it in the calculator, and they'll give you some prompts and maybe some feeling-finding questions. But there's a lot of experience being a financial advisor that's worked with hundreds of clients over a period of time. You get a feeling for standard things to look for, like tax rates might change in the future. And so is a Roth IRA a good idea or not? Well, I mean, in some cases it could be, but it depends on typically your age and where you are in your development in your career, and whether you're at a high point or low point in your income earning, what your plans are for retirement, planning to retire early or later. Do you think tax rates are going to go up or down? And so there's a lot of different qualitative things that you have to consider before you come up with that number of, this is the amount that I put in this box.
Yeah. I guess our overall summary is retirement calculators are probably great. Probably go to a site that you have a lot of trust in that it's working right, but use them knowing that they are sort of in a vacuum, and there's probably a bunch of other things going on in your life that probably should be coordinated. So
correct.
If you have the more complexity you have in your life, the more you probably want to have a planner or someone to help you organize, make sure that those calculators are working together.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. A simple calculator will give you a simple result, and it's easy enough for somebody without a lot of financial experience to undertake. But at the same time, that's probably going to be an incomplete analysis of your entire life. Where if you go to a calculator that's very robust and asks for a lot of minutiae details, there's going to be a lot of unknowns in there that you don't really know how to answer them unless you have the experience of having done financial planning.
Yeah. And a lot of folks, it's pretty common, and it depends on some other parts of my life, but a lot of folks, when they ask all those questions, you're like, oh, that's just too much.
Right. I
just wanted a 5-minute thing, right?
Laziness is a real thing. I mean, we all get that way. Like, we like to do this thing, but we're not going to, I'm not going to fix my own car, even though I could probably watch a YouTube video on how to change my oil filter. I'm not going to do that. It's within my capabilities, but I'm just not going to do it. And so I think probably most people on the planet don't enjoy finance, and they're going to look for any reason to postpone actually doing that, or they're going to get started while they're motivated, and then they're never going to quite finish and put those plans into action. And so a financial advisor, beyond being knowledgeable and being able to put numbers in boxes, is also a great coach. And so most people need coaches in life, and whether it's weight loss or exercise or finance or achieving your career goals, a lot of people get stuck in places, and they need a coach, in this case a financial advisor, to kind of continuously work them through to reach their goals.
Yeah. This is a great example. Like, this because you've been with me every step of the way. But years ago, I wanted to do this podcast and this concept. And when you really start to look at what goes
Yeah,
into
I remember you emailed me one day and you're just like, I'm not doing this. That's too much.
Right. And I know there are guys and girls in our industry, right, that say, hey, I'm going to try to do that. And they don't really do it, or they do 5 episodes and they tail off because there's a lot. You do all of our compliance work.
Sure.
So you have to review everything to make sure that what we're saying is within lines and all that stuff. So, but the same thing, and I think of all you mentioned healthcare. I think of all that times I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to eat that perfect for a week. And then you look at all the stuff that they go through to shopping and putting meal prep. And I'm like, I'll just try to do better. Right. But even that, it's in the right step. So, the topic was online calculators. I love that they're Googling it. They're looking, they're basically saying, I want to be better.
Sure.
And so you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
If you want to start to get real serious and you have a lot at stake, definitely worth tapping somebody on the shoulder and saying, hey, would you mind working with me and looking over my shoulder?
Last point I will say is that they're snapshots in time. So if you're going to do a retirement calculator, you're doing it for today, you probably need to do it at least every 3-6 months. If you have some changes, certainly every year or 2, you really need to go in there and polish those numbers, because your returns on your stocks and bonds and other investments are going to rise and fall. Circumstances in your life are going to change. As I mentioned before, tax rates, interest rates. Interest rates are huge. They go through very long cycles, and we came through a very long cycle of low interest rates. If you put that interest rate assumption into the calculator, those assumptions are all incorrect now, because interest rates have doubled in some cases for certain products and even more. So, you have to continue to polish those plans up and keep reusing those calculators and sharpening your pencil.
Yeah. It's a dynamic world. Just make sure you're on top of it. All right. I think we beat this one down. And so online calculator is good. Use them with caution.
Yeah. Use with caution.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.